All right. Good afternoon, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for a Legacy Magic the Gathering stream. Today we are playing with a viewer-submitted brew. This one has jumped to the top of the queue because I received a large donation, that pushed it here. So someone sent me a donation saying, hey, I put together this deck list. It goldfishes really well, and I played some games with it on paper with a friend, but I can't really test it on Magic Online because the cards are expensive. Can you test this for me? And I looked at Crystal and Giant, and I said, yeah, yeah, I can do that. So, what are we looking at? We are looking at a mono blue artifact synergy deck with cards like Ethereum Sculptor to make your cards, well, specifically your artifacts, cost less. You have Emery so that you can bring things back from the graveyard. You have Treasure Mage to search up some tutor targets. And you have Thoughtcasts, which hopefully should be cheap because of the number of artifacts that you're playing out. You do have artifact lands as well. So this deck is largely built around two 6-drop cards that you probably have to read. The first is God Pharaoh's Statue. Spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more to cast. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 1 life. And the Immortal Sun. Players can't activate Planeswalker's loyalty abilities, which is very important because, Oko. And to a lesser extent, things like Teferi. At the beginning of your draw step, get an additional card, and creatures you control get +1/+1, and spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So, I have a lot of doubts about this deck list. I I let the person know when they sent me this. I think the force of will count is maybe a little bit questionable in this deck. Like, we have a pretty insane number of colorless cards here. Like, we're running 22 colorless cards, and we have 18 cards for Force of Will. The issue is that, like, most of these cards are things that are really important to the strategy, so you need to cast them. You don't get the luxury of just, like, holding something back quite as easily as you might with, like, just being able to hold back, like, a Ponder or a Brainstorm that you don't want to cast anyway. Um, but we'll kind of see how it plays out. I've been told that this deck list gets to see a lot of cards. I don't really know about that. It seems to me like this deck is going to like fizzle a lot in that, like, we're gonna draw a couple of initial cards off of Bobble and then we're gonna kind of sit there without a draw engine in a lot of games. I am aware of your Google Eye desire. I don't know about that one, Reaple Cheap, but I'll think about it. Okay. As far as the sideboard goes, it's just kind of small adjustments, except one other card you have to read that also costs 6 mana, Ward of Bones. Each opponent who controls more creatures than you can't cast creature spells. Same is true for artifacts and enchantments. And each opponent who controls more lands than you can't play lands. Um, we're just gonna go. We're just gonna hop into the league with this and see what happens. But let the record show that I am quite skeptical. Yeah. As far as Monster Train stuff goes, I did a little bit of recording this morning while uploading some videos. I've got next week's yikes. That's a shame that queues are slow. We do have 341 active players. Seems like they should go quickly at that number. I mean, this is maybe historically a little lower than where legacy leagues are at. I don't pay super attention to the active players number. but it is what it is. Yeah, but did a lot of recording of Monster Train videos so that I have a decent sort of like backlog of videos. Oh, I hope there's not a downtime today. Small world, Nathan. Small world. Yeah, I usually don't have to think about the Magic Online downtime because I usually don't stream Magic in the afternoon. Ah, but yeah. I mean, you gotta root for curses, right? It's the law. Like, you have to root for the underdog fringe deck. Hey, Romario, welcome. We are attempting to queue legacy matches. Been a struggle thus far. Oh, that's a legitimate question. Is curses worse than D&T? Ooh, good thing I have a match. Don't need to figure out the answer to that question. Don't put me back in the queue, opponent. Don't do it. Okay, this is the third time I am attempting to match. So that's cool. Well, Jerry, I think what is more than likely happening is that like the wait times are so long that people are like doing things in other windows or like leaving the room to go to the bathroom or something. You're playing against the ShamWow fella. Keep? Okay, we're just playing against Reanimator. Hmm. Maybe I should have taken both draws there to try to spike blue card plus Force of Will. Oh, we're not playing against Reanimator. Playing against a deck that has Polluted Delta and Bloodstained Mire. And Jace the Mind Sculptor. So we're playing against some sort of Grixis control deck. in which case this is probably pretty good. I saw Jace the Mind Sculptor off a Bobble. They're a control deck. Eat. I guess I just want to like put a Crystalline Giant in play and then let it get something that lets it beat Baleful Strix. I got first strike. What does this represent at 3 mana? Could represent K Command blowing up Chalice. Kind of want to play a Ballista for 1 and revoke Jace. Playing a Ballista for 1 is awkward if they have K Command. Snapcaster doesn't do anything right now. Like a Vendilion click could. I guess I will play this pre-combat. It just like eats the Baleful Strix if they K command it. Yeah, Drown in the Lock is fine. Death Touch, First Strike. Cool combo. Okay. Yeah, alright, that sucks. So it looks like I'm pitching the treasure. I don't know. Maybe I take the treasure mage and take the thing that shuts off planeswalkers. The Master of Ethereum isn't exactly great right now. You can stay flexible just by playing a Crystalline Giant. I can keep the treasure mage if I force, but I kind of want to keep the force. if I draw another blue card, but I'm not likely to draw another blue card because of how the deck constructions are. I think I force keep the treasure mage. Opponent doing a real great job of playing around Chalice. Vigilance, okay. I guess I'm gonna attack the Planeswalker. Jace bounce is going to be a thing that is going to happen and is going to suck. Also, I don't have the mana to just, like, actively play lands. Players can't activate Planeswalker's Loyal's abilities. We'll take that. I think I'm supposed to keep this so that if I draw a soul land, I can deploy it. But, like, this is very awkward right now. Alright, cool. Lose both of these cards this turn, I think. Alright, what's the wording on Menace? Can't be blocked by two or fewer creatures. Set by two or more creatures. Alright. Cool, cool, cool. Flying or something? Or something. I don't control three or more artifacts. No, I don't think it's worth playing the land. They might discard spell me or him to Turok me. And like I'd rather have City of Traders in play than Ancient Tomb because I'm going to get hit for a billion. Now my opponent just plays Jace, bounces Crystalline Giant, and I'm nope, never mind. Cool. I wonder if I'm supposed to do this to try to just protect critical spells. Assuming my opponent boards down on one drops, They're already kind of low on one drops. Chalice probably isn't good. Probably just want more things that serve as threats for planeswalkers. I also don't understand this deck well enough to know how I'm supposed to board. Like, Ethereum Sculptor seems pretty bad to me, but like I might be wrong, and it might be important to try to like turbo one of these things out. This has a turn 1 Emery, so I probably don't throw it back. Or wait, no, it doesn't, does it? Cost 2, and this isn't on for Metalcraft yet. Right. Wrong. Drago very, very much favors my opponent. Okay. I'm not going to force a Will of Brainstorm just to avoid discarding. I don't think this deck does anything. Like, obviously I should have mulliganed this one, but a blue deck that doesn't have cantrips to help solidify. I also don't have the full set of Chalice's main. Yeah, let's hope we see a better performance from later rounds. I was told that this deck regularly sees Grizzlebrand levels of cards by about turn 3. I am skeptical. At least our queue for the second round wasn't as long. Alright, playing against curses. So it seems like most of my hands are not going to be good. Like, we have a hand that has 3 mana, is entirely reliant on hitting something good off Emery, has a Force of Will that it's not going to be able to cast because I need to cast Emery in order to do anything this game. Uh, Yikes. We're also just going to get like Chaliced on 0 and lose. Alright, we hit a Walking Ballista. So we kept our hand on a gamble off Emery and are rewarded with a recursive 1/1. Yikes. At least our opponent doesn't seem to have a good opener. I think just playing out the Walking Ballista for 1 is better than keeping the blue card for Force of Will, because I assume my plan is just like turbo out this God Pharaoh statue. Oh, that seems pretty good against everything I can possibly do. Right. Like I'm likely to lose to something like an Ensnaring Bridge in the long term. There are worlds where we get to kill the Karn, so if I kill the Karn and like actually get a God Pharaoh statue in play, we can talk. That's no good. I need a blue card for Force of Will now. Land is not close at all. That kills Karn, this attacks them, this attacks them. Oh, actually, with the Karn gone, you can play Lotus Petal and hard cast a Force of Will and then not be dead. Okay, that's nice. If I played the God Pharaoh statue with the Dark Ritual, they get to resolve Leyline, so disagree. Oh, the Dark Ritual costs 2 more. Yeah, okay, that's fair. That seems like the wrong name. Now I just ping and shoot that. They don't get to block. Seems like you're supposed to name Walking Ballista there, then block and kill Emery. Okay, kind of narrowly got that one. Let's bring in things that deal with Karn. These are things that deal with Karn. What's this card do? Probably not. So we probably start with Chalices out. These are maybes. These are maybes. Maybe I board these out just for more things that deal with Karn because I just have like such a hard time dealing with that. Um, we lost round one and didn't really do anything. We're up a game in round two, but opening hands seem really bad. One, two, three, four, five. Just take two bobble redraws. Have no ability to do anything explosive, but like maybe do something if an Emery gets involved. Yes. Feels bad. I'd do a chalice on 0, kind of. I think I'm going to take both of these draws now, in case I need to like force something on my opponent's turn. That is like at least a possibility. Yes. Thoughtcast. Looking good. Okay. He's very nice draw. Cool, cool. Feel dead. I have no mana producing lands in play. I can chain a Vapor Karn to reset its loyalty. I need to chain a Vapor that so that I can play things, but it results in them getting a resetted Karn. I need to kill that so that it doesn't kill my creatures that are on board. But it definitely feels bad. I'm going to go back to a similar situation as last turn. But at least the Karn isn't protected now. That's rough. That land means that I concede this game. You're hoping they missed out on that land. Okay. Let's run it back. And does nothing. I can revoke a Planeswalker on turn 2. I'm not really doing anything explosive. like I try to need to do something explosive, like a fair hand of just early Revoker doesn't seem good enough. The same thing I said about last hand, where a fair Revoker hand doesn't really seem good enough. Yeah, I kind of feel like this is the same hand as last time, but worse. All right. Guess I'm keeping this. Put two back. Probably has to be 1, 2. Probably lose to Karn pretty handily. All right, Leyline. Might play for the turn because like I just need to put something into play that can pressure planeswalkers and hope that I can play Master of Ethereum, but does not feel good. Yep, okay, now I have no place. I guess we're doing this just to have 6 mana worth of tempo. But it means that we're more dead to various things. Ugh. Wonder if my opponent will now put them on 2 things that kill Emery. I don't think so. They seem to be pretty scared of constructs. Okay, it flies. That's cool, I guess. Means it's not getting death touched by Plague Engineer. We're very dead to a Helm. Hopefully my opponent puts me on just like having Force of Will since I'm not doing anything else. Opponent needs a second to do something. Twiddle, 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 twiddle. Master of Ethereum is a Vidalcan wizard. This is a construct. This is what they're scared of. They don't want me to like bounce the ley line and then end up with recursive walking ballista that just melts through plague engineers. Boop 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 boop. Oh, there was just a comment in chat. What? It's not a construct? I guess they thought Crystalline Giant was a construct. Cool. Like I don't beat that. How much does this cost currently? 3? Seems better to play one of these. Not start taking damage from Cruel Reality. I mean, hitting the +1/+1 counter there is kind of nice. I need expendable creatures to just keep sacking to Cruel Reality. Unfortunately, I can't like opt out of this choice. And I can't take this block. I need to sack my Master of Ethereum to Cruel Reality. That sucks. Okay, I should be dead now. I just like lose Master of Ethereum this turn. Yep. TNT doesn't beat Oko. Just is a thing. It sucks. This deck feels like it does nothing. Feel like my suspicions were correct. Like Ethereum Sculptor hasn't done anything yet. Master of Ethereum hasn't done anything yet. Treasure Mage is really slow. Having six drops that are very hard to cast in your opening hand is very rough. Artifact count for Thoughtseize isn't necessarily as high as you think it might be once your opponents start interacting with you. Blue count for Force of Will is a little questionable, especially since you want to play your blue cards out early and often. So far, this deck just feels much, much worse than Echo Urza. We get a couple more rounds to try to redeem it, but not feeling great. I also just like don't have anything interesting to say because like We haven't done much. Hey, Ripple G, GG's. Sorry I didn't do much. Oh, what? You're not familiar with giants and Vidalcan wizards and all sorts of other shenanigans? You don't know this is a Vidalcan artificer, but this is a Vidalcan wizard? Damn. Oh, no shame at all. I don't know the well. I didn't know this was a Vidalcan artificer. I knew it was a Vidalcan something. I didn't know what the subtype on that was. Treasure mage is just a human? Human wizard. Well, I would have hit for plague engineer by picking human. If you have more than one creature type in your deck, what am I supposed to do as a plague engineer player? Look cards up? Ah! I mean, yeah. Yeah, that's fine. To be fair, it does, like, kind of seem like this could be a construct. Get it? Alright, Q, thank you. Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, Ethereum Sculptor, Chalice on one. Then do nothing the rest of the game because I don't draw a blue card. Or blue mana source, rather. Yeah, Emery might be better. So that I'm not just like super omega boned if I don't draw a blue source. I can at least maybe play a colorless card that hits my graveyard. So for anyone not familiar with how this works, Emery's cost is looking at two artifacts in play, which is reducing it by two, and then I pay afterwards. That's why I'm able to do both of those things. Oh man, what a set of cards to hit in my graveyard. My opponent is on a multi-5 against a Chalice on one when they're on the draw. I wouldn't be surprised if my opponent plays nothing else this game. One, two, three, 4, 5 over 2 turns. I can Immortal Sun the next turn if I take a mana source here. I guess I could have played towards Immortal Sun guaranteed this turn by playing Ethereum Sculptor last turn. I think my opponent's going to concede if I bobble them. Yeah. Feels kind of like I bored for unfair stuff, and I'm okay if I'm wrong. Maybe the Tormod's Crypt is too much. Oh yeah, Emery's a good card, but there are probably better Emery shells than this. Emery, probably. Part of me wants to just Phyrexian Revoker on Grizzlebrand. Lion's Eye Diamond. How is this thing running? Eh? Eh, is my answer. We are 0-2 currently, I believe. We are up a game against Mystery Deck. Man, this deck is not good. It feels wildly inconsistent and like it's not doing more powerful things than other decks are right now. Like we get a couple more rounds to try it out, but eh. They just revoked Grizzlebrand. Although to be honest, I don't know that we just beat a 7/7 lifelinker with this deck. Alright, I have F6 to do your worst. Yeah, just like show me more cards, please. So the mono black reanimator deck. Do you also have dark depth stuff in there too? Alright, you have Grave Titans, you might have like Lake of the Deads. Tell me faster while showing me more cards. Those are my two requests. Really, it's one request that has two parts, though. That's the dream, Wildfire. That's the dream. Should do tendrils. That's the tendrils. Great Titan, Grizzlebrand, Swamp, Unmasked, Magus of the Will. Sure. Okay. Alright. Best of luck. So now I know that I want Surgical and Crypt. Don't think I mess around with this whole Treasure Mage 6 mana thing versus deck that can like very easily have me dead quickly. I mean, I'm okay with being the bearer of the bad news that like a brew is not good. I've done it many times. I'm okay with crushing that dream. Hopefully, we get a couple more interesting and interactive matches, though. Not sure if I'm supposed to like Chain of Vapor or Echoing Truth to answer a Grizzlebrand once it gets in play, because if it gets in play and they draw 7, I probably die anyway. I don't know, maybe if I can revoke her, then like some of the chains and echoing truth type cards are good. I don't know, I do kind of need to keep things that kill my opponents. Opal, Bobble, Chalice on 0, Phyrexian Revoker on Grizzlebrand on turn 1 with Force of Will backup. Cuts off a bunch of my deck, but YOLO. Right, this first. We're doing this to try to hit another blue card that I can pitch to Force of Will if I need to, so that I can actually keep the Thoughtcast. I'm probably supposed to cast this. Yep. Inventor's Fair costs 4 to activate in addition to tapping itself. We're not quite there yet. We keep the Force of Negation because it's hard castable here. I have no clock. They have no cards that do anything. So it's okay. Yeah, it's like a control deck where I've shut down 2 of my cards so far. Like a control deck that went all in on a Phyrexian Revoker on turn 1. Now my opponent like hard casts their next big dumb idiot and I lose to it. Yeah, our deck is not doing things with most hands. Like in terms of role identity, our deck doesn't really have one. Like we're a deck. We're not a control deck. We're not really a prison deck. We're not really an aggro deck. Like we don't have a solidified identity as a deck. Like we're not a combo deck, even though like Ethereum Sculptor makes you want to be a combo deck, right? Like to power these things out. Phyrexian Revoker and Chalice make you want to be a prison deck. Treasurer Mage makes you want to be a combo deck. Emery makes you want to be this like slow grindy deck. Master of Ethereum wants to make you an aggro deck. There's not a solidified identity here at all. Excuse me. Actually, I'm gonna run to the restroom before the next round starts. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that. Let's get back to it. I don't know that we can 2-3 with this deck. Like I expected to 1-4 this deck when I looked at it. And now I'm unsure if we're even gonna do that. Yeah, the game one against Reanimator where like we got like turn one Emery plus something else. Sure. But like, yeah. Let's just keep playing. One has mulligan to 5, so probably playing against another combo deck. Don't have a hand that's particularly good against combo. But we have a turn 1 Emery, so there's a chance. I guess let's do this now to get into Force of Will. I've already lost one of those. The opponent has a Spell Pierce. Maybe like Infect or something. Assume that Chalice. I'm gonna get the Spell Pierce out of their hand right now, and then I'll just play it again next turn. I guess I could have like Emery'd for Opal. No, the Opal wouldn't have been on. Drawing Glistener Elf. Okie dokie. Nice. 1, 2, 3 artifacts. Stock cast costs 2. Make it cost 1 by playing Revoker or Master of Ethereum out. Oko. Turn. Yep. I guess I'm just digging for a walking ballista with Mishra's Bobble. There's a very good chance I'm just dead. Turn. Play Bobble and Master of Ethereum. Probably better than just putting this in play as well. I think I'm just crashing them with these creatures, trying to get an aggro kill. Opponent trades pump spells defensively. I think I'm good with that. Oh, great. A Veil of Summer. Actually, that's fine. I have the Chalice. Opponent might have Become Immense, which is why they're hemorrhaging these cards. In which case, I'm very dead. Neat, I'm not dead. Alright, board in more Walking Ballista. Some amount of this stuff. Uh, Stuff probably doesn't cut it here. I feel like most of my cards are bad. I feel like this is like Mulligan to Walking Ballista or something. Okay, we have Walking Ballista. Mm. Emery is the bait spell, cast up a ballista for 1, try to kill Blighted Agent with it, and then try again every turn for the rest of the game, maybe? It's better than jamming Ballista for 2 because it plays around days. Force of Negation is not free on my turn, so I do not have backup. I'm gonna make them use a defensive spell right now. That's fine. Oh, we'll probably just fetch, so I don't know what this is. Woohoo! Alright. Recursive Walking Ballista, still good against Infect. Alright, we are on the scoreboard. So that's nice. I mean, I think the Lord's important because this deck doesn't have a clock. Like, not like an Urza deck where, like, your Urza is your, like, win condition, it clocks, it gives card advantage, and it also makes mana. Ted, you get Ethereum Sculptor. Wildfire, I ask myself the same question. Cool. Cast looks great. We'll keep a hand that creates a turn one chalice, though. Oh, wow. That's cool. Guess I keep this bauble now? For thoughtcast reasons? Our opponent can just, like, play land Tarmogoyf and I die. Now we're playing against lands. Yeah? Seems like we're pretty good at losing to Sylvan Library. I have basically no way to interact with my opponent in game one. I have to goldfish them, and I'm not a very good goldfish. Yep. Count for Force of Will looking great. I disagree. One damage of Born Presence means, like, basically nothing against my opponent's deck. I think I would much rather cast this Walking Ballista for either 2 or 3 later on. Maybe even larger numbers than that, given the amount of mana that I have. Oh, we absolutely cast the Chalice on 2, and then it'll get O-Code, and everything's great. Oh! Yeah. Lose to that. Hmm. Yeah, don't really block this. I'm dead to it in 3 turns, probably 2 turns after Ancient Tomb activations. I don't know, maybe we find something degenerate to do with this. Otherwise, I basically have to concede. Crystalline Giant. I guess Crystalline Giant could, like, technically do things. Yep. Get hit for 4. I play a Crystalline Giant from my graveyard. roll lucky on it, and I don't know. Like, assuming our opponent has other creatures in this deck, since they have Questing Beast, and they're, like, actually more of a Maverick deck with just kind of a weird-looking start. I don't think we come back from this. The goal here is to just get opponent to play more cards so I know how to sideboard. Play Walking Ballista for X equals 1 this turn, and attempt to trade Giant plus Ballista for Questing Beast, and then recur things via Emery. I think it's super questionable if our opponent has any interaction. JK! That was very good. We rolled high there. Since we rolled high there. Can shut off their Moxen. But Corrupt Decay is pretty bad. Cool. Probably just turns Mox Diamonds into dudes. Opponent has Swords to Plowshares for Crystal and Giant. Very good if they do. Mostly because it exiles and can't come back with Emery, in addition to just like the obvious Questing Beast lines this turn. Yep. Now that I go to 10, down to 6, I don't think I blocked this turn. I think I have to kill the Oko. Vigilance. So many words on that thing. Whatever, Ballistic for X equals 2 is probably great. I wonder if my opponent is just dead. I attack them with all of my creatures. 3 damage gets in. I cast Walking Ballista for X equals 3. That is GG. with no outs because they have no mana because Mox Diamonds are revoked. Yeah, I liked the part where my opponent gave me more creatures instead of creating more creatures of their own. Liked that. I also liked the point where my opponent did all that damage with Sylvan Library to themselves. Yep. Yep. We have no business winning that game. But we did! I wonder if opponent is just going to disconnect in rage here. Nope. They've just conceded. Alright. Cool. We're playing against Maverick with blue, question mark? Guess I'll Revoker. Guess I'll Walking Ballista. Questing Beast is weird and is throwing off my evaluation of what opponent has going on. I don't really know how good Chalice of the Void is against my opponent. They're an Oko deck. That is also a Green Sun deck, presumably. I have no idea if I'm supposed to surgical. My gut says no, but that Tormod's crypts are fine because they're recursive. That feels bad. One of these can probably go. Now it's just a question of like, do I want something like Chain of Vapor or Echoing Truth for a Merit Lodge or not? They're Maverick. That Thespian stage and the Dark Depths will probably be one ofs. I don't know. Like, despite the fact that they bled themselves to death with Sylvan Library, I did not actually get to see very much of their deck. This hand does nothing. This is also a legendary land, so playing them in multiples is bad. Okay, this. I certainly do not mind that. That's a good pickup. Auto whiffs on Emery. I'll look at that card, even though you're probably going to shuffle it away. It is a Savannah. Yeah, I think so. We're just like vomiting here. Yeah, Noble Hierarch. It does seem like there's some sort of Maverick deck. Cool. Cool. That had to be their. Huh. Thing. Feels unbeatable. Their 2/2 walls my board. I like lost a mana source and all this stuff. I need to like wait till I have 4 mana to play this so that I have a 2/2 that can attack into that. Yeah, we feel very dead to that. Alright, I could have ballisted for 2 here. This still works. Green Sun for a night, I guess. Could be a Rex Sage, but none of my stuff is particularly valuable. That gets Wasteland, blows up Ancient Tomb. Really cast spells ever again. That's a good top deck. I obviously wish I had cast this for one more last turn, but whatever. Master of Ethereum doesn't really do anything in the grand scheme of things, though, because opponent showed us Maze of Ith in game 1. I don't know. Like, opponent threw away the last game. They could still throw away this one. Opponent can trade Knight for Master of Ethereum this turn by knighting for fetching, and sacrificing Waterlog Grove. I would be happy with this trade. I think this is just a Maze of Ith situation, though. We don't want two things to die in the same turn, right? Like, we only want one thing to die in a turn cycle, theoretically. So that, like, whatever dies, we replay with Emery. Oh, opponent just made Marilage. Okay, cool. We want a bunch of this sort of stuff. Opponent has Swords to Plowshares and crop rotations. Is it now good to play Chalice of the Void? Miriam Sculptor seems kind of bad. Maybe 4 Walking Ballista is too many. Yeah, play 3. I don't know. It just feels like opponent is playing better cards than I am. This feels like an uphill battle. despite the fact that this hand has a mixture of lands and spells, this hand actually does not do anything. And also does not do anything. You know what I'm gonna say? I don't get to Force of Will. Probably don't get to interact with their graveyard. We start down 2 cards against a deck that gets an extra card for their draw step. A deck that probably has better cards on average than we do. Not an acceptable place to be. I mean, this is a Howling Mind if I find one more land. And maybe help me dig out of the mulligan, but just yikes. Lotus Petal is the best draw in the deck. Tell me. How are we up 5 minutes on clock? Cool. Thoughtcast is extremely awkward. I think I need to play it. I'm just like very much in trouble if my opponent has Wasteland. Cool. Glad I drew mana sources that work. Opponent naturally having Oof in hand as a one of multiple games in a row is also like incredibly tilting. Cool. Cool, cool. I like the part where my opponent discarded a card to play a Mox Time and that's shut off because of their own collector oof, and I'm going to lose to this player anyway. Hexproof. Okay. Goal is basically opponent killing themselves at this point by using Knight of the Reliquary poorly. And also getting flying on Crystalline Giant. Chain of Vapor. That's a card. First strike. I don't think I'm going to get cute and try to push any damage this turn. I think I'm just going to sit on this Chain of Vapor. And hope that my opponent tries to win by making a Merit Lodge and get multiple Time Walks. No, I think this Chain of Vapor eats a Merit Lodge. That was the read that I had on my opponent's hand based on what they've done. Yep. There was a turn like like 4 turns ago where they tapped a green mana and then untapped it, which kind of made me think they had crop rotation. God damn it. I can also time my opponent out. Hey, imagine if they got Thespian Stage last turn instead of Savannah. Flying would be cool. +1/+1 counter doesn't do anything here. Doesn't get through the night. I believe I boarded the other thing out. Do you have another Thespian stage? You have another Thespian stage. Cool. Thoughts on the deck list? Unplayable. Not to mince words. This deck didn't do things. Almost every hand. Like, the hands where you have Emery +2 artifacts that cost 0 are fine, but basically every other hand felt bad. Felt terrible to be reliant on 6 drops. It felt terrible to be playing these 3 mana tutors. Thoughtcast was not consistent. Ethereum Sculptor basically did nothing. Revoker wasn't closing games quickly and was fragile. Um, I don't have anything good to say about this deck. It's just worse than like Echo Emery or some other like colorless blue stompy deck at the things that it's trying to do. That league was pretty miserable to play because most of the time I didn't have decisions that I could make. Like, my opponent was punting that last game left and right, and there was just nothing I could do about it. And part of that is them being lucky and having oof twice in a row. But, like, that was not the only game that was like that, where, like, I just have so many problems. Like, the deck presents an anemic clock, it's inconsistent, it has a low blue count for Force of Will, you don't quite have enough artifacts to enable quick thought cast draws. Um, yeah. Robot, thank you very much for the continued support. Wow. Yeah. It's crazy to me that I have people who have been following for 2 years now. Yeah, fine, Andy, that's a good point. So, like, I was asking why I was down so far on clock. It's because I didn't have decisions to make. So, like, I played one card during my turn, attacked, and F6'd when I didn't have Force of Will. Um, yeah, that's that's what I have to say about that one. So, someone donated to see that deck tested. That deck has been tested. The ideas aren't good. I'm glad you didn't spend motor ticks on acquiring the cards to test it. That's my conclusion for that one. And I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a day there. I'll be back again. I don't know, maybe tomorrow. I have Apple Jacks at the top of the queue that I've been wanting to play for a while. Um, and I was planning on doing that today until I got this like testing notification. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed despite the fact that I was getting bullied. And if you do, please consider doing something to support the stream. Have a great rest of the day.